Hello everyone and welcome back to Whiskey Wednesday. There's a blank wall behind me, a very simple dark shirt, because we are showcasing some seriously colourful stuff today, ironically, with the Compass Box Canvas release. And please let us all take a moment to just fully enjoy the richness of this label. I know Compass Box are particularly famous for producing some of the best looking labels in all of whiskey, but this thing is just a bit special. It's very like Greco whiskey making, Renaissance Italy, fabulous things, and a hell of a lot of detail on the back that I'm going to get into. It came in this very simple, modern art kind of box with this kind of slit down the middle of it, and the topper for the original is still in there. Why do I own this? Interesting question. I'm not normally one for like discounts and deals and stuff. I know that makes me a little bit unusual in the whiskey world because it's a very expensive hobby. But I got an email from Compass Box while I was on holiday in Cornwall, and they were saying, hey, we've opened up our archive and here's like a 20% off voucher. So I was scrolling through it and it was the usual suspects of Hedonism and Spaniard and all these kind of classic bottles. But then at the bottom, they had this. And I don't remember ever hearing about it. Part of that reason is probably because it was released in July 2021, when things were still a little bit unusual in the world, let alone the whiskey world. So I think this must have flown under the radar a little bit. But let me talk to you about it. It is signed off by John Glaser, who we wish a happy... Has he retired or is he just going somewhere else? Not sure, but John, you were much loved at Compass Box. We loved what you did. This has been put together by James Saxon, who is kind of their head now amongst all of their whiskey blenders. It's natural colour. It has gone through a light 5 micron non-chill filtration, and it was bottled in July 2021 at 46% ABV. What is it made of? Well, let's do percentages. So we've got some refilled bourbon barrel, 43.4% of the recipe from the Tomatin distillery, 24.2% of the recipe is from the Glenburgie distillery, that's in first fill bourbon. We have 15.4% from the Glen Elgin distillery in Richard American Oak, that's a hogshead. We have 6.1% from the much loved and much missed Imperial distillery, that's also in first fill bourbon. But then the big thing is 10.9% of this whiskey is from Tomatin, again, and it's been matured in Vino Naranja, or as we would call it, orange wine in England. Hence these beautiful tones of almost iridescent rainbow-like structure to this amazing bit of whiskey art. Like, this sits on my little whiskey shelf, pride and joy, in the middle of the minute. But I saw this at the bottom along with loads of their old, in terms of age, releases. May was a very expensive month, not looking to spend a lot of money. So this was meant to be £100, I got it for 80. I can now throw the box away and keep the bottle. But here it is. And a very unassuming colour. Not the darkest thing in the world, not particularly orange in colour, but only just under 11% of the makeup is there. There will be a photo of the back of this on our Instagram and Facebook Whiskey Wednesday profiles. We've also just launched TikTok. Talk about that another time. But if I can get the focus in on this, it might come across as a bit backwards. But there's your distilleries, there's your casks, and there's your percentages. Like I say, it might come in a little bit backward, but there will be B-roll shots on other social media platforms. But I've had a little bit from this, and it has been a while since I've actually purchased a bottle of Compass Box. I think the last thing I bought was the Orchard House, which I loved. And it's actually quite sunny now in England, so I should probably get another bottle of it because it was delicious whiskey. For those of you that are keeping up with dog content, I apologise for any licking sounds you hear in the background. That is my dog deciding that she must now fully clean all of her body at 7:30 in the evening. But yeah, not the most spectacular colour, but as we know from Compass Box, it's all about taste and smell. So let's smell this thing. Yep, there's orange wine. It's really difficult to, well, it's not difficult to describe orange wine because it just smells like orange. And this is full of it. We get two types of orange though. There's kind of like a slightly bittersweet blood orange note, And then there is this delectable, almost orange oil, the orange of chocolate and orange, sort of orange. But amongst that, Glenburgie is quite an interesting one. A large percentage of this whiskey is Glenburgie, 24% of it, 24.2, let's call it a quarter. And I have a lot of experience with Glenburgie. The company I work for, the Whisky Shop, we bottle a lot. We purchase a lot from independent bottlers, and I've experienced a lot of Glenburgie in my life. It's quite a typical Speyside. It's very like peary and appley and almost rhubarby sometimes, and you are picking up a good chunk of that in here. The rhubarb bit certainly, and there's almost like pastry case, shortbread biscuit. We do have some first fill bourbon. You're picking up like a little bit of caramel, a little bit of vanilla. But all in all, a very enticing, welcoming, sweet overall smell. Which, if you've never tried this and you just read it, it's pretty much what you would expect. There's no surprises or unusual elements to this. There is a much richer note to it, which you could almost mistake for sherry. It's almost like a date, like sticky toffee pudding note. I think they mentioned marzipan somewhere on the back of here. No, they don't. They mentioned frangipan, sorry, which is like an almond paste that you put into desserts. Not really getting much of that, but there's no big fruit note. There is no... Oh, actually, I've said that. There could be like a slightly banana-y thing to it. But it's fresh, it's welcoming. It would make an absolutely stunning, like, aperitif of an evening. It really would. But anyway, let's taste it. We've talked loads about the smell and the makeup. Let's get on with this. Velma, in your bed. In your bed. She gets a little bit aggressive this time in the evening. I should really cut this content out, but I feel some of you might enjoy it. So, initial arrival, very effervescent, very light. It almost reminds me of, not directly, but a little bit of the Loch Lomond we reviewed last week. That was significantly higher alcohol and significantly higher alcohol when it came off the still too, that we're aware of. But it has this very light, effervescent, almost lemon peel, lemon oil arrival. And as you kind of ruminate on it a little bit, I'm using that word a lot in reviews right now, it begins to develop this almost like sticky orange, like orange jelly, again, orange oil, orange pith, the smell of an old-fashioned or a Manhattan with an orange twist on it. It's just this beautiful bouquet of orange and really light floral styles of whiskey, which as I look out the window now and I see this beautiful silhouette against green trees and our whitewashed wall back garden, it just kind of makes me want to sit out there and enjoy things as much as I can. You do start to get a little bit of the bitter orange thing pulling through. I mentioned before on the nose it had like a blood orange note to it. That does begin to pull through, and the finish is a little bit bitter in comparison, but it's a nice orange bitter, as you would expect. It almost works like an Aperol, or even like Campari does in a Negroni. Oh my god, what if I put this in a Negroni? Stay tuned for that. Won't put it in the video, probably just do like a post on Instagram about it or something. But it won't be a Negroni anymore, will it? It'd be a whiskey Negroni, I suppose we can just call it that. I think a Boulevardier has to have rye or bourbon in it. Cocktail people, correct me. But you do get this flush of bitter orange. It moves a little bit into gentian root. It's a bit gingery. There's almost like an allspice Christmassy feel to it. We've mentioned this kind of pseudo-sherry notes that are moving around it quite a lot. It's a nice whiskey, it's really good. Would I have bought it for £100? Probably not. The discount was a bonus, and I was looking to treat myself because May was a pretty intense month for many different reasons, and I just wanted something nice. It turns out I've treated myself a lot because I thought May wasn't a particularly good month, so there's loads of fun reviews coming up. Scottish, Irish, Campbelltown, loads of things like that. But yeah, it's not £100 bottle of whiskey. Now what Compass Box choose to do and how they choose to price their whiskies is fully down to Compass Box. It's not down to me. But I wouldn't have bought this at £100. I bought it at 80 because the cask influences sounded really fun, and the distilleries, I enjoy all of them individually. I wish I could get hold of more Imperial, but I just can't. But Tomatin's lovely, Glenburgie's really nice, Glen Elgin, when you can find it's really good. Especially in sherry. Glen Elgin and sherry is a Macallan killer. But yeah, overall, if you were to say this was like a £65 bottle, because it isn't cash strength, it isn't anything like that, I think it takes whiskies like Spice Tree and Spaniard from this range, and I wouldn't say it's a step above them. It's on par with those, and if it was that price point, I think we would all love and adore this, and it'd be considered one of the best. But even at 80, I like it, but I don't think it was fully worth £80. But overall, it's a nice whiskey. There is nothing wrong with it. It's only really its price point that's giving it a couple of faults. Both its original and its discounted. But if I were to score it, I would certainly give it like a solid 7.5. It's a very nice whiskey. If you see it in a bar, totally worth trying. If you have a friend who's a Compass Box fan and they've got a bottle of it open, you should certainly hit them up to trade a sample for it. I'm definitely going to put this in a Negroni. And then I'm going to drink quite a lot of it neat because I need a bit of a house pour right now. And this will probably end up being it, although rather expensive. And I can now throw this away. But yes, thank you all for watching. That was the Compass Box Canvas review featuring Thelma. In fact, it's been a while since most of you have seen Thelma. I'm going to show you what this little noisemaker is. Come here, you. Come here. Oh, here she is. Making all the noise. This is Thelma. She's part pug, part Frenchie. And she is adorable, but a very noisy little thing, aren't you? Do I smell it? She's not a fan. But yes, that was Compass Box Canvas. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week with 2 new turntable whiskies. They've sent me some little sample stock of 2 of their new releases. They sound amazing, but I'm gonna get those to you next week. But for now, thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Cheers.